Well, it's the morning after the last day of the trip from Oslo to Copenhagen. So I'm in Copenhagen now. I'm staying at my friend Alex's apartment, who I met up with in Oslo. So he's still in Oslo. He's not back here for another week or so. But he's very kindly allowed me to use his apartment while he's away. So I've got the whole apartment to myself, and it's awesome. So thanks so much, Alex. Can't thank you enough. And your plants have been watered, so don't worry. They'll live to see another day. But yeah, yesterday was another big day in the saddle, and I did about 100k all up. I recorded it on my watch this time, including the ferry trip over from Sweden to Denmark. So it's just stepping back a bit, I guess. So the morning started, yeah, fairly rough. Like it was pretty windy and rainy in the morning, and I just wanted to get out of there as fast as possible and onto the road. So I didn't even have breakfast. I just packed up my tent and I set off. I think around 8:30, which I think was the earliest I've ever left camp, because I knew I had a bit of a big day ahead of me to get to Copenhagen, and was feeling good. The sun came out and was riding for a little while, and then I rode past a lady that I had seen the other day when we were both riding the same direction, and we were on like a highway, and the wind was blowing so hard and it was raining, and like we were both just kind of heads down pushing our way through the wind. And I just like kind of turned as I went past her and just like gave her a nod as a bit of encouragement, and she gave me a big smile. And I thought, oh, maybe she'd be nice to talk to, but there was too windy and there was no chance to talk, so I just kept going. But yeah, I passed her again yesterday, and this time the weather was nice, so I kind of struck up a conversation with her. Her name was Nadia. She's Swiss, and she lives in Barcelona, and she is doing her own bike trip from Gothenburg down to Hamburg, and then on her way to a wedding in Switzerland, and then back to Barcelona. So her and I, we rode together for probably maybe 45 minutes, an hour or so, which was really nice. Just have someone to chat to, and we got along pretty well. Had similar, I don't know, perspectives on life, I guess. She was fairly new bike tourer. I think it was her first bike trip. So yeah, good on her for getting out there. I'm impressed that she decided to do a big trip like that by herself on her first bike trip. It's a big thing to do for anyone. So yeah, it was pretty cool to meet her. But we rode together for about an hour, as I said, and she mentioned a few times, "Oh, you're never going to get to Copenhagen if you're riding with me," and she mentioned it a few times, and I was kind of thinking the same thing. So I kind of got the hint, and I wanted to get going anyway. So we kind of said farewell, and I pressed on, and yeah, kept going throughout the day. Had a short lunch on the beach, which was really nice, but super windy. Ate pretty much all the food that I had, so I was feeling pretty lightweight on my rig, so I could pick up some speed. And I started listening to a new audiobook called Essentialism, which was something recommended by Chris Picard in that podcast I listened to about him doing the Tour Divide and such. And really interesting book. I think it kind of comes at the right time for me, because this is a time for me to kind of reset and recharge and and try and reprioritize things. And this book is really interesting in that respect, because it talks a lot about basically how can we do less but better. That's kind of the prospect, or the thesis of the book. All about taking away all the bullshit, deciding what we actually want to say yes to, and really focusing on that rather than saying yes to everything, and feeling spread too thin and trying to do everything all the time, which is something I definitely have troubles with sometimes. And this bike trip may be a good example of that, trying to see all of Europe in one trip. Probably a bit impossible, actually. So I think it was good for me to start reading that, start listening to that. And I look forward to continuing over the next couple of days. What else? I finished Fahrenheit 451, which was a really cool book as well. So thanks, Marie, for the recommendation on that one. It's basically a commentary. It's like it's like kind of like a dystopian future setting, and it's a commentary on basically what happens if everyone stops thinking independently and stops, nourishing ideas through books and other media. Books is just kind of a one way you could do this, but they're kind of the focus of the novel, and yeah, basically what happens when we kind of let ourselves as a society become sheep, I guess. When we pursue pleasure over everything else, and we let all the interesting ideas and kind of spices of life flow away. So that was kind of a topical book for me to read as well, at this point. Although it's not something I particularly have issue with, I think, but it's a good reminder. Very well written as well, like a really, really amazing writer. Bradbury is his last name. Forget his first name. Maybe it's Dan. I have it around here somewhere, but yeah, really amazing writer. Quite inspirational, his passion for writing, actually. But anyway, eventually I crossed the ferry from Sweden over to Denmark, which was quite cool. Reminded me of crossing the ferry between the North and the South Islands in New Zealand. It was really bright and sunny. It was about maybe 4 o'clock or maybe even later at this point, and I still had another almost 50k to go to get to Copenhagen. But that was alright. I didn't really mind. When I got here, as long as it wasn't too late, because I had to get the keys off Alex's neighbour. But yeah, there was just no border control at all, crossing between Sweden and Denmark, which was funny. Same as between Norway and Sweden. So didn't even need my passport. And yeah, got to Denmark, got to the port there, and just shot off. I was feeling pretty good, in a good mood, and after a couple of hours, I eventually made it to Copenhagen, and it's it was really cool, actually, because there was almost more bikes on the roads than cars, and there was a couple of moments where I was looking around, and I just there was so many bikes parked up behind, besides every cafe and bar, and people were just riding around everywhere. And I just thought, man, this is kind of this is the kind of city that I'd like to live in. They're doing transportation right in this town. They've got it set up properly. This is how it should be. And yeah, I almost felt a little bit emotional, actually, feeling this is what it should be like. And I kind of feel at home here already, even though I'm completely an outsider, not speaking Danish or knowing anything about Danish culture. But it was quite cool coming into Copenhagen. And then kind of the final thing that happened was Alex gave me his address for his apartment, but it was the wrong address. So I got up to the number that he had said, and which was 10A. But it was like a beauty salon and it was closed. And I was like, oh, okay, this can't be right. So eventually, like I rode around the circle for a while trying to make sure I was on the right street, which I was. And eventually I called his neighbor and she said, oh no, it's 14A, not 10A. So she opened the door and she was just up the street and she was like waving to me. So I went and got the keys off her. But bloody Alex stitched me up and gave me the wrong address. Like he forgot his own number of his apartment, the idiot. So yeah, that was a bit of a stitch up, but all good in the end. And yeah, just so awesome to have a place to myself again. Honestly, I think I have kind of burnt myself out with all this camping and trying to rough it the last couple of weeks. So yeah, it is a good reminder that sometimes you just need to slow down again. There's nothing wrong with taking some time, nothing wrong with that at all. And sometimes you just need some time to rest and relax, which I'll take hopefully a few days here in Copenhagen to do that. I'll do some planning on what I'm going to do next for the trip, how much time I have to do it, and yeah, the next couple of stages, as well as meet up with a bunch of friends that I met when I was doing my dive master in Indonesia, actually, on Gili Turungan. So that'll be really cool. I'm meeting up with my friend Nana in about half an hour for lunch, even though I'm having breakfast right now. It'll be really cool to see her. We drove a tuk-tuk around Sri Lanka together with another friend from Gili T, which was an amazing trip. And apparently she's got a kid now, so things change. So yeah, I better get cracking. But I'll do another blog once I'm back on the bike.